Hello, everybody. Ross Madden here with the Truth of Think Tank, exposethedeepstate.com. Today, Donald Trump and Putin met in Helsinki, and we are going over one big mic drop that President Putin actually came out with. John Brennan is running scared. He's nervous. He's tweeting about how President Trump is committing treason just by meeting with President Putin. Check out this tweet. Donald Trump's press conference performance in Helsinki rises to and exceeds the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of treasonous. Not only were Trump's comments imbecilic, he is wholly in the pocket of Putin. Republican patriots, where are you? Well, I'm one Republican patriot, and I'll tell you where I am. I'm right here telling you, John Brennan, you better watch your own treasonous mouth. Let's go ahead and take a look at the definition of what treason is. Since John Brennan seems to be such an expert, let's see if Donald Trump actually fits the bill. Definition of treason: the offense of attempting by overt acts to overthrow the government of the state to which the offender owes allegiance. Well, I'm not sure that President Trump is trying to overthrow the United States government by meeting with President Putin. But President Putin is trying to bring some attention to certain people within the United States that I think John Brennan has some allegiance to, and he is nervous about President Putin telling the truth to the American people. Well, if CIA Director John Brennan under Barack Obama was actually trying to attempt to overthrow President Trump via this coup with Robert Mueller and the intelligence agencies that started that investigation, well, maybe that fits the definition of treason a little better than meeting with President Putin. To me, that's an attempt at overthrowing the executive branch of government. John Brennan, you owe your allegiance to the United States. You owe your allegiance to this government. Just because Trump doesn't want you to be the CIA director because you're a criminal does not mean you get to commit treason without any consequences. This is going to end very badly for John Brennan. He will likely go to jail for covering up many, many crimes. It will likely be for financial crimes because money trails are very solid evidence. And there's probably proof that Brennan knew about the financial crimes committed by the CIA during his time as CIA director. And Putin claimed during the press conference today that one Bill Browder, an investment fund manager from Britain who runs Hermitage Capital Management, which invests largely in Russian companies, was convicted of tax evasion in 2017. He was convicted of stealing $58 million from the Russian government after making $1.5 billion in Russia, and then funneling that money out of Russia offshore and to the United States. $400 million of that, and this is the interesting part, $400 million of that got funneled straight to Hillary Clinton's campaign. And another even more interesting part was President Putin accuses the US intelligence community of helping that money get from Russia to the United States. He says, quote, the transactions were accompanied and guided. President Putin, being the politically savvy man that he is, expected questions about the Mueller extradition of these 12 supposed Russian intelligence agents that were involved in the US election, which Mueller has very little evidence of. But in any case, Putin says, yeah, well, if you want to ask them questions, you may come to Russia and we can try them in a Russian court by way of the Mutual Assistance on Criminal Cases Treaty. There's already a framework in order for this to happen. And by the way, if you want to do that, and this is the part that he had prepared, I would like to also ask your intelligence agencies about specifically perhaps John Brennan and why Hillary Clinton's campaign is able to accept $400 million in illegally gotten gains. So, there's a lot of questions, but right off the bat, let's listen to President Putin talk about this mutual assistance on criminal cases treaty, which is an interesting comeback to this whole Mueller probe asking for 12 Russians to come answer questions.
We have an existing agreement between the United States of America and the Russian Federation, an existing treaty that dates back to 1999, the mutual assistance on criminal cases. This treaty is in full effect. It works quite efficiently. On an average, we initiate about 150 criminal cases upon requests from foreign states. For instance, the last year, there was one extradition case upon the request sent by the United States. So this treaty has specific legal procedures. We can offer that the appropriate commission headed by Special Attorney Mueller, he can use this treaty as a solid foundation and send an official request to us so that we would hold a questioning of these individuals who he believes are privy to some crimes. And our law enforcement are perfectly able to do this questioning and send the appropriate materials to the United States. Moreover, we can meet you halfway. We can make another step. We can actually permit official representatives of the United States, including the members of this very commission headed by Mr. Mueller, we can let them into the country and they will be present at this questioning. But in this case, there's another condition. This kind of effort should be a mutual one. Then we would expect that the Americans would reciprocate and they would question officials, including the officers of law enforcement and intelligence services of the United States, whom we believe who have something to do with illegal actions on the territory of Russia. And we have to request the presence of our law enforcement. For instance, we can bring up Mr. Browder in this particular case. Business associates of Mr. Browder have earned over $1.5 billion in Russia. They never paid any taxes, neither in Russia nor in the United States. And yet the money escaped the country. They were transferred to the United States. They sent huge amount of money, $400 million, as a contribution to the campaign of Hillary Clinton. Well, that's their personal case. It might have been legal, the contribution itself, but the way the money was earned was illegal. So we have a solid reason to believe that some intelligence officers accompanied and guided these transactions. So we have an interest of questioning them. But that could be a first step, and we can also extend it. Options abound, and they all can be found in an appropriate legal framework.
If Robert Mueller is setting the precedent that Russia is expected to interrogate United States enemies, well, then it should be reciprocal, according to Putin, and that the United States should interrogate Russian enemies like Bill Browder. And Mueller thinks he's being slick by dropping these 12 indictments right before Trump has to meet with Putin. But Putin goes ahead and makes him pay for it. He's going to regret indicting those 12 Russians, especially if he pursues it, because all of a sudden Bill Browder, a major Clinton campaign donor, is going to be, the next one on the chopping block. So, and then right after that, he actually wants U.S. intelligence officers to answer for those crimes, because he says that U.S. intelligence community actually helped that money get funneled out of Russia into the United States, where taxes were paid not in Russia or in the United States. And that's the tax evasion that President Putin is talking about. Basically, Bill Browder just shut down his company, declared bankruptcy, and all the money was gone. And that money belonged, at least in part, to the Russian government, according to the Russian government. So there is a big 9-year sentence on Bill Browder that was dropped in 2017. Let's go ahead and talk about Bill Browder for a second. So Putin claims the U.S. intelligence agent funneled $400 million to Clinton campaign from British financier Bill Browder, who at one time was the largest foreign portfolio investor in Russia. So this is a big, big guy as far as financial ties goes. This is a huge deal that this guy is who President Putin is calling out. One of the biggest financiers in all of Russia. He made $1.5 billion without paying Russian taxes, and then sent $400 million to the Clinton campaign. And that $400 million, well, it's illegal money. Did Clinton have anything to say about that? No, it's just gonna accept it. That's good enough for me. Let's take a quick look at Bill Browder. So Bill Browder, who I guess spoke at the Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum in Davos in 2011. That's when that picture was taken. So this is a few years ago. But William Felix Browder, born in April 1964, is the co-founder of Hermitage Capital Management. And so this is that big fund that ran a whole bunch of Russian companies, made $1.5 billion. But in December of 2017, Browder was tried in absentia and convicted of tax evasion and deliberate bankruptcy by a Russian court, receiving a sentence of 9 years of imprisonment. 9 years in Russian prison. That's where Bill Browder belongs. That's where the Clinton donors are going to end up. On the 30th of May, 2018, Browder was arrested by Spanish police in Madrid on a Russian Interpol arrest warrant. He was freed soon after when the General Secretary of Interpol warned the Spanish police not to follow the Russian arrest warrant. Browder had come to Spain to brief anti-mafia prosecutor Jose Grinda. After briefing him, Browder returned to Great Britain. So basically the Spanish weren't going to protect him, but the British are protecting him. And Interpol, International Police, that's this group. It's basically a globalist. They're, I guess, got a $100 million budget. It's a globalist international police agency, and they only arrest the people that are, not donating $400 million to Hillary Clinton. Well, if Bill Browder goes down, who else is likely to go down? The U.S. intelligence agencies who helped him funnel that money out of Russia into the U.S. and donate it to Hillary Clinton. That might include John Brennan. Maybe that's why John Brennan is so upset about this meeting with President Putin. Perhaps that's why the media is so upset. Maybe they are CIA-connected Project Mockingbird media. Maybe that's why they're upset about this meeting with President Putin. The presidents are exposing the deep state, both Trump and Putin. Expect the CIA to come out against this. Expect the intelligence agencies to try and subvert the president at every turn. I expected Fox News to cover Mr. William Browder a little bit better. Maybe ask Trump one question. Both Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson got exclusive interviews with President Trump after his meeting with President Putin. And did Sean Hannity ask him a single question? Not on Bill Browder. Not one question. So why is Fox News not covering the people who are exposing the Clinton cabal, the Clinton crime syndicate? Tucker Carlson's interview airs tomorrow. We'll see if he asks a single question about whether the United States is going to address this Bill Browder situation. I would argue that President Trump's just going to let this slide and we're not going to even address it, and Fox News isn't going to talk about it. That's because they're not actually going after Clinton. Why aren't they going after Clinton? Why isn't Fox News going after Clinton? Well, it's owned by Rupert Murdoch, who is a leftist. He is not on the conservative side. He is trying to overthrow and subvert the president, and it's just being done in a subversive way, in a overt way on Fox News. It's a limited hangout. They want the people who are conservatives to pay attention to them while they just get them going on this no collusion narrative, completely ignoring the Clinton crime syndicate narrative and how they received $400 million from Mr. Bill Browder. So the Russians are actually telling the truth about what's going on with the deep state. Why is that? Why is the truth coming from Putin and not Trump? It's a very interesting question. I think that Russian media is actually more honest than US media, and that's not even surprising to most people. US media is terrible. President Trump knows that they are the enemy of the people, and that's why he calls them that. So, will Bill Browder see justice? We have a legal framework to make this happen. He's already guilty. He's already been sentenced to 9 years in Russian prison, which I hear Russian prisons are very nice. So the last thing that I want to cover is this Hillary Clinton tweet. She says, "Great World Cup. Question for President Trump as he meets with Putin. Do you know which team you play for?" And that is just hilarious, as you are the one who's receiving $400 million in illegally gotten gains. That is just very cute of you, Hillary. You're probably quaking in your boots today. You got called out by President Putin for accepting $400 million in tax evasion money. That's basically blood money. I want to know how Bill Browder made his money. President Trump clearly plays for Team America, and so do I. And if you play for Team America, you should go to exposethedeepstate.com, get an FBI I'm with her bumper sticker, a Trump 2020 bumper sticker, and have a great, great day.